Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome back to The Gentle Voice. I am Yan Yan, and today I want to talk to you about something that I think far too many of us experience without fully understanding why it's happening and how it affects us, especially when it comes to modern dating. And I'm talking about that exhausting dynamic when someone seems interested, even flirty, but then backs off just enough to get you to lean in some more. It becomes this like push and pull game, and before you know it, you find yourself chasing them. And not just them, but your own sense of worth, clarity, and peace. So if this hits home for you, stay with me until the end of the episode, where I'm going to unpack why some people want to be chased, why we fall into the trap of chasing, what both therapists and self-help coaches have to say about the topic, and most importantly, how to reclaim your power in love and in life after a situation like this. So stay tuned. Now let's start with the psychology behind chasing, because I think it's very important to understand this before you're able to unhook from this person. So according to psychotherapist Esther Perel, one of the biggest misconceptions about intimacy is that it's created through constant pursuit. In reality, healthy relationships involve mutual interest and emotional safety, not emotional hunger. Now, Perel notes that chasing often comes from a place of inner lack. If our attachment system previously was shaped by unpredictable love, so think emotionally unavailable parents, caregivers who were hot and cold, we may subconsciously equate inconsistency with passion. So when someone is just out of reach, what happens is our nervous system begins to wake up. Now, this is not love. It's a trauma bond waiting to happen. And we chase because it feels familiar, even though it hurts. Now, Dr. Alexandra Solomon, a clinical psychologist and author of Loving Bravely, explains that this chasing dynamic is not always about the other person. Sometimes it's about what we are trying to prove to ourselves. So we're not just chasing them, we're chasing the idea that if they choose us, we'll finally be enough. It means that we're lovable, that their attention will heal our rejection wounds from the past. But here's the thing, it never does. And according to Dr. Solomon, she says, when we feel drawn to someone who isn't giving us clarity, we need to ask ourselves what we are trying to fix from our past, because often they're interconnected. Now let's consider what many self-help coaches and dating strategists say about this pattern. Coaches like Matthew Hussey and Stephen Speaks often echo what therapists say, but with a more action-oriented, motivational tone. Now, Hussey warns that when someone makes you feel like you have to work hard to prove yourself to them, you're actually being trained to abandon yourself. And his advice is, if they want you to chase them, let them keep running. Your job is to walk in the direction of someone who will actually meet you halfway. Now, Stephen Speaks adds another layer to this. He emphasizes that true connections don't require confusion. If someone wants you to chase them, it's often because they are validating their own self-worth by creating a power imbalance. They need the chase because they don't believe they're enough unless they're being pursued. In other words, their self-worth is tied to being desired, not to creating a healthy, stable relationship. Now, from a therapeutic standpoint, this behavior, wanting to chase, can often be linked to avoidant attachment. So Dr. Amir Levine, co-author of Attached, explains that people with avoidant styles fear losing their independence, and so they pull back just enough to get you to move toward them. But the closer you get, the more they retreat, and so this creates a dynamic that keeps you off balance. And when you're off balance, you're a lot easier to control. Not because they're evil, but because emotional closeness feels extremely threatening to them. So why do we chase? Sometimes we've been conditioned to believe that love has to be earned. We confuse uncertainty with excitement, and our brains release dopamine when there's unpredictability. And that chemical hit can make the chase very addictive. We may also believe on a deeper level that if we can just get that person to love us, it'll prove that we're lovable and that we matter. But this belief keeps us locked in a vicious and toxic cycle of unworthiness, And this is something that definitely will not help the situation. Chasing someone who isn't meeting us halfway actually undermines our self-esteem. It's self-abandonment masquerading as devotion. And I think that's something that you should write down. I'm going to repeat that. It's self-abandonment masquerading as devotion. What happens is it disconnects us from our intuition, it drains our energy, and reinforces the idea that love must be chased instead of received. Dr. Nicole Perel, known as the holistic psychologist, reminds us that what you chase will always run. And I think that makes a lot of sense. For example, if you chase a bird or you chase a cat, they're not going to walk toward you, they're going to run away from you. And the same thing with people. If you chase them, then they're going to run. And then she also reminds us that what you align with will come to you. And that makes a lot of sense too. When you are being the person that you want to attract, you end up attracting like-minded people. You end up attracting the right people that are in alignment to you. And that's what you want. So how do we protect ourselves from people who want to be chased? I think that's another important question. It starts with awareness. Tune into how your body feels around someone. If you constantly feel anxious, unsure, or like you're having to audition for their love, or like there's a competition for you to beat in order to receive love, those are red flags. Pay attention to what they do, not just what they say. Someone who is interested will be consistent in both areas, in what they say and in their actions. Someone who wants to be chased will offer breadcrumbs, just enough to keep you coming back, but never enough to build anything real. As for them, why do people seek to be chased? Another very important question. Psychologist Dr. Ramani Durvasula says it often comes down to insecurity and control. Some individuals fear being truly seen and instead seek admiration from a distance. They thrive on validation, but fear vulnerability. To them, being chased proves their desirability, but it's a shallow validation that avoids real connection. Now, the antidote to this game is radical self-respect. When you stop chasing and start choosing yourself, you start focusing on yourself, something internal happens, something powerful inside you happens and shifts. Your self-worth is no longer tied to someone else's inconsistency. You begin to see clearly, you begin to attract people who meet you at your level, not those who test your limits. You stop performing and you start living. And the person who once made you feel like you had to prove yourself, they lose their power over you. And before you know it, you'll actually find you're the one that they're chasing. And at that point, it's up to you if you want to get back into that vicious, toxic cycle, but hopefully you can make the decision not to. So if you're in a chasing dynamic now, I want to say this gently but firmly. You don't need to convince anyone to love you. You don't need to audition for a role in someone else's life or someone else's story. You are the main character of your own life and of your own story. You are not hard to love. You just need to be in a place where love is given and received freely. And you deserve to be happy. You deserve that more than you know. So as we close out today's conversation, I want you to really sit with this. And this may be a good time to take notes again as well. You don't have to chase love. You don't have to run after someone who only gives you just enough to stay confused. You are allowed to give yourself permission to wait for mutual energy, emotional safety, and peace without guilt. If someone pulls away when you stop chasing, that's your answer. They're not worth it. Let that be your clarity, not your confusion. Remember, the healthiest love is the kind that feels calm, consistent, and mutual, not the kind that keeps you guessing. I hope today's episode gave you some insight, and more than that, I hope that it gave you validation. If you found value in this conversation, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it at this time. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a chance to hear something that could shift everything for you. Remember, you are worthy of real love and the kind that doesn't need to be chased. Until next time, I'm Yen Yen, and this is The Gentle Voice. Be kind to yourself and take care.